Alright, first of all, I want to apologize right out the gate if my throat sounds a little bit hoarse. I was just on a bachelor weekend a couple days ago, henceforth why I'm also getting this review up a little bit late. But yeah, there was a lot of partying, a lot of screaming and yelling, and the pollution, I can tell you right now, in Austin, Texas's air isn't exactly clean. Henceforth, I sound the way I do right now, so apologize for that, but I'm gonna finally review Furiosa. So let's do this. So Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, is the latest installment in this Mad Max film franchise. This one once again directed by George Miller and serves as a prequel to Mad Max Fury Road. Yeah, as the title of the film suggests, as the movie trailer suggests, this is essentially an origin story to the character of Furiosa. What her childhood was like, how she was taken from the land of many mothers and essentially became a part of this wasteland, apocalyptic world that is in Mad Max. How she met Immortan Joe, how she became this soldier, this warrior, this absolute savage that we see in Fury Road. It's a character odyssey about Furiosa. This was without question one of my most anticipated movies of the year. Now granted, I'm not a die-hard fan of the Mad Max franchise. Granted, I'm telling you this right now, I've only seen Mad Max Fury Road. I haven't seen any of the original three with Mel Gibson. They're on my list of movies to watch, I swear to God, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Mad Max Fury Road, though, it's one of the greatest action movies of all time. I remember seeing that in theaters with my friends. We were absolutely blown away by it. And the more and more I've rewatched it since then, the greater it just becomes. I mean, the world, the characters, the action. I mean, holy shit, the fucking action. Naturally, right after that movie, I wanted to experience more. I wanted to see what else this world had to offer because we all knew there was a lot more to offer in this world. It turns out the project that George Miller really wanted to make, what he really wanted to do next, was in fact a prequel origin story to the character of Furiosa that we are introduced in Mad Max Fury Road, played by Charlize Theron. So yeah, big fan of Mad Max Fury Road. I absolutely loved the character of Furiosa in that movie. So I was really excited to see a movie like this. And yeah, as far as a Mad Max film entry, as far as an action movie, George Miller once again absolutely crushes it here. I think this movie's great. So first of all, let's get right into the character of Furiosa. This is her movie, this is her story. I'm just going to touch on the actresses who play her. I mean, Anya Taylor-Joy, she's the main star of this movie. She's the one who plays Furiosa most in this movie, I would say. But yeah, she's awesome in this movie. I feel like it's a little bit of a different role for her as well. I mean, we're used to seeing her in like these darker, more horror-ish kind of movies, if you will. We're not really used to seeing her as an action movie star. But she's great here. Similar to Tom Hardy's Mad Max in Fury Road, she's not someone who has a lot of dialogue. In fact, I think people are trying to debate right now who had more dialogue in their movie. Was it Tom Hardy or Anya Taylor-Joy? She's very much a woman of action, and she absolutely executes it. I mean, she perfectly conveys the damage that's in her, the fear that's in her, and trying to survive this world, trying to get back home to what was taken from her. I thought she performed great in the action stunts. I mean, she appeared frightened, she appeared intense, she appeared menacing when she needed to be. She portrayed just the right amount of broken in this woman while still being an absolute badass, and that's what we know Furiosa to be. I thought she crushed it at that. The other side of Furiosa I really want to give credit to is Alila Brown, I believe is the actress's name. She's the young girl actress who plays Furiosa when she's a little girl, when she gets taken from her home. I really liked her performance as well. As far as like kid actors go, she did a really good job. Because what I like seeing with her, it's like she starts off kind of with that innocence to her. You know, she just lives in this land with, all these people with their abundance of resources. And then she's taken away from that and thrown right into the crazy. And slowly you start to see her break. You start to see her really just crumble down from what the villains in this story have done to her. I mean, the movie has to cover a lot of ground. I feel like that's why it's 2.5 hours long. I'll touch on the runtime a little bit more later, but to the movie's credit, it has to cover a lot of time that's gone by. So yeah, both actresses who play Furiosa have to portray these different sides of the spectrum with her. I thought both crushed it. But yeah, I won't waste any more time. I'm gonna get right into it right now. Chris Hemsworth as Dementus in this movie. This is the best I've ever seen Chris Hemsworth. He is fucking awesome in this movie. You can tell he's having an absolute blast with this role, and I loved every second of him on screen. I would say, as of today, as of right now, He's my favorite performance that I've seen in a movie this year. Because what I absolutely love with Chris Hemsworth in this movie is this is such a polar opposite to the kind of character we're kind of used to seeing him play. I mean, we've seen him as Thor. We've seen him in Extraction as like this action hero. We have never really seen him as the villain. In this one, he is straight up the villain of this movie. He is a menace. He's an asshole. He's psychotic. He's a lunatic. He's nuts. He totally fits into this world of Mad Max. And what I love seeing in him is, for me, he had a little bit of that Joker vibe from The Dark Knight. Like, he's a monster, he's a lunatic, he's a psychopath, he's insane, and he is evil. But he had this sort of charm, this sort of charisma to him that made you really like his character. You were excited to see him on screen. You were looking forward to whatever lines of dialogue he would bring. You were looking forward to see how he and Furiosa are gonna interact. It made him a lot more entertaining. Chris Hemsworth's performance just completely brought Dementis to life and made him a phenomenal character. It was the kind of performance that made you absolutely love this character and love this villain, but not so much that you aren't rooting for the hero to bring him down. Perfect line to draw, and Chris Hemsworth crushed it at that. Also, one thing that I will say that I really appreciated with this movie is getting back into the runtime. It covers a long stretch of time, but what I think the movie does that I think is a positive, but may also be a little bit of a negative at the same time, is there is a lot of lore building, character development, and world explanation going on in this movie. Like, this movie once again brings in Immortan Joe, shows like the dynamic between him and Dementis, how they, collide with each other, how they have conflict with each other. We see more of how Immortan Joe is seen as this religious figure, and the war boys will literally die for him, want to die for him. More of the authority that certain realms of this world have in control over certain resources, how, certain characters are the way that they are. So as a result of that, I will say, does the movie maybe feel a little bit slow at times? Yes, absolutely it does. This movie is not as action heavy as Mad Max Fury Road was. I mean, Mad Max Fury Road is a non-stop action thrill ride. Henceforth, Fury Road is more fun of a movie. It's more action-centric of a movie. And there is action in this movie, which I will touch on in a minute. But this movie, it focuses a lot more on the lore here, on the world. And I do appreciate that. I do appreciate seeing more of how the world became what it is. It's explained a little bit more here. Why, certain resources are used in a particular way here. Why characters are on certain quests and have certain desires that we learn a lot about in Mad Max Fury Road, but are explained more of the origin behind them here. So one thing I would give Furiosa a lot of credit toward, maybe even more so than Fury Road, is this movie just does a good job as kind of bringing you into this world and slowly just warming you up into it. It's not like Mad Max Fury Road where it immediately just places you into that world of madness and you watch it and some of the stuff is just insane and nuts and you're like, this movie's out of its mind. This movie provides a lot more explanation to why everything's insane and why so much is just crazy and nuts and just so bizarre in a way. So as a result, I really do think if you maybe want to introduce someone new into the Mad Max franchise, I do think Furiosa would be a great movie to do so with. In fact, in a lot of ways, I don't know how some people might take this comparison, but I would, in a lot of ways, compare Furiosa to Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Both serve as prequel origin stories kind of to certain events that happen in these epic franchises. As a result, I feel like Furiosa is going to become the perfect companion piece to Mad Max Fury Road. And finally, let's get right into the action of this movie. How is the action of this movie? Yeah, it's great. I mean, the action when it goes down, it is thrilling, it's intense, it's wild. I've been seeing everything that goes into it. I mean, the stunt work, the practical effects. Here's one thing that I will say, though. I do think this movie relies a lot more on CGI than Fury Road did. Not that Fury Road didn't have CGI, but I mean, in Fury Road, I feel like the CGI was just blended a lot better with the practical effects. I mean, it was mainly practical effects in Fury Road. When cars were flipping and blowing up, it was real. And I'm sure there are practical effects here, there's, the fun, great action chase scenes, with stuff blowing up that we are used to seeing in Mad Max movies. But here, I do also think that George Miller decided to use CGI a little bit more, and I will say, some of the CGI in this movie is very apparently CGI. So yeah, sometimes it's not the most cleaned up visual effects, it doesn't always look the prettiest, but does it completely take me out of the movie? No. Here's one thing I will say. Cinematography-wise, the movie looks absolutely gorgeous with the landscape shots that they have going for themselves. And the sound, Holy shit, the sound. I mean, I saw Civil War earlier this year, and I talked about how the sound of that movie just like goes right through you and hits you like a harpoon. Furiosa is gonna give Civil War a run for its money. I mean, there are some certain sounds in this movie that come from just certain action points here and there that just absolutely knocked me on my ass. Little trinkets right then and there that show you that George Miller has definitely not lost his touch. He knows what goes into a great action movie. So all in all, Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, is exactly that. It's a great action movie. Furiosa as a character in this movie, as the lead character in this movie, is absolutely awesome. You are so on board with her. The performances from both Anya Taylor-Joy and Alila Brown both completely get you on her side. Chris Hemsworth is phenomenal in this, plays a fantastic villain, one that I will remember for a long time. I'm not even joking with you on that. My favorite performance of the year so far, I think he should get Oscar consideration. I mean, I don't know how that's gonna go down. The Academy just seems to hate action movies, but we'll see. I can hold out hope. I loved more of the exploration on this world, more of the expansion of the lore, the character building, more of an explanation to this world of madness. As a result, it may feel a little bit slow at times, but I still appreciate them doing that and giving us more context with this world. Action-wise, it's fun, it's thrilling. Sometimes visually, it doesn't look completely up to par, but not enough to totally compromise the movie or the experience. In the end, I had a great time with this movie. I also can't wait to watch it again because I want to experience Furiosa and then immediately go home and watch Mad Max Fury Road on Blu-ray so I can just see how this gigantic saga, this odyssey with Furiosa and Mad Max just really get wrapped up all together. I don't know why I didn't do that after my first viewing. But you know what? This is why we watch movies multiple times. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. And as always, don't leave a comment, like, subscribe. And I will see you all next time.